The creator of Claude Code just revealed his entire workflow. I studied every step he shared, and some of them blew my mind. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system from the creator of Claude Code so that you can ship apps 100 times faster at a far better quality, even if you've never coded before. So Claude Code is an incredibly powerful model, and here are the secrets behind it. Now this is Boris, the creator of Claude Code, which actually started as a side project in 2024 and now does over $1 billion in annually recurring revenue. It is most people's first coding model of choice. Now Boris himself has committed 40,000 lines of code in the last month alone. So I said to say he's using it all the time, and the things he has to say are super insightful. And what he shared can really be distilled down to 5 core principles that will improve the way that you use any kind of AI coding at all. Now this is also you can ship basically 10 times faster at better quality. Now where does Google anti-gravity fit into this? Because we've spoken about that quite a lot on the channel, and it is a game-changing coding environment. Well, the best way to think about it is that your coding app is like a fighter jet, right? There are many different options. We have cursor, anti-gravity, windsurf, and the model that we use within anti-gravity, within these what we call integrated development environments, these IDs, is like your fighter jet pilot. It's like your fighter jet team, and we can install whichever pilot we want to for any particular use case. So we can use anti-gravity with Claude Code and also Gemini 3, completely based on whatever kind of outcome we are trying to get. And Boris's complete breakdown fits very nicely into a 5-step system called CODA. And the first C stands for configure. Now in our jet pilot analogy, no jet pilot on the planet will ever leave before doing a very comprehensive checklist to make sure that everything's in order so they actually have the fuel and they can get to the destination. And Claude Code is no different. And so if we open up anti-gravity, for example, how do we do this? Well, the first thing that Boris recommends doing, which is so true, is creating a claude.md file for every single project. For example, let's come down here, new file. I'm going to call this one, if I come here on the left-hand side, we'll just literally call it claude.md. Now, if you're using anti-gravity or cursor, you can use the terminal within this software. But what's really easy to do is actually, if you come on the left-hand side to extensions and you type in Claude, you can add this extension. And what that basically means is that when you double click in the middle, you'll open a new tab and you can click on this Claude thing here, which is now CLA code within anti-gravity. So what do we really include within this claude.md file to make the project way better? What is our pre-flight checklist? Well, it turns out there's lots of really interesting things. So what I did is I actually pulled together, based on all his best practices, what he should include in claude.md. I'm going to come down and grab this for you because I thought it was really interesting. So if I come down to Claude Code and open as claude.mmd, there's a couple of things that we really want to make sure that we cover. And I'll share this down below so you can just grab this and use this for all your projects. And the idea is that you copy and paste this for everything. So whatever the project is, you give this to Claude. So for example, we want to specify things like the tech stack. We want to be clear on the key directories that are involved. We can be clear on the commands. But what's really interesting, I thought, was this idea that what you want to give Claude, crucially, in the claude.mvd file, is that you want to be clear on what the success criteria is and how it actually checks that. So for example, if you're building a beautiful interactive website, we want people to say to Claude, by the way, you know that you've hit the mark when you've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And this is how I actually want you to test it. So the idea is that we treat this like a living, breathing document. So you copy all of this, you head over to your code environment of choice. You can literally then give the command to Claude to say, hey, I want you to amend the Claude.nd file with the below project scope for my project. Ask me questions to fill this out. And then what you do is you can chat with Claude Code on the left-hand side to fill this out. And then CL will become way more comprehensive. And the actual effectiveness of the model when it's pulling you anything goes through the roof. And the other thing to call out here, which I thought was really interesting, is the actual model that we're physically using here, which you can access by in/model. And so pretty much for any time using Claude Code, always be using Opus 4.5 for every single task in what you're building. And the other thing to add in, as you're building out your project, if Claude Code misbehaves in any way, what's really important is you come back to these system instructions and update it so that its actual modus operandi is always evolving and changing. Remember, it's the backbone of every single project and the best place to start. And then we've completed our pre-flight checklist and we have the backbone. None of that is relevant unless we're very clear on the mission for Claude Code, which every single project needs to start with. We would never leave the runway unless we're clear on the mission and the destination. And it's the exact same thing when we're building these beautiful applications in Claude Code. And so, the second part of our codes framework stands for outline. And this one is really cool and something I found personally great in all the apps I've built, is that you want to spend 95% of the time on the problem and defining success before you build it. The better and clearer we can be, the better the outcomes. So the idea with this is that you can come down to Claude Code, type in Shift and Tab until it gets into plan mode. This is its awesome thing. And so once you have plan mode activated, you basically want to have a conversation with Claude in plan mode. Now Boris recommends that you actually go back and forth. So for example, if I said, hey dude, I want to build a very simple website that tells me the weather in 3 locations, London, Dubai, and New York City. I really want you to help me understand and define what the problem is in detail and create all the specifications for the app so that they were very, very clear on it. Please ask me clarificatory questions if none of this is clear and help me understand any gaps in my understanding so we can create a very clearly defined project document. Cool. So we put that one out there, and then we can also add in Ultra Ink as well, which lets it think deeply. Now the cool thing that I thought that Boris touched on here is that before he even starts building, he'll go back and forth with it in this plan mode before we even write a single line of code. And the idea is that the better the plan is, and the better to kind of, if you think of it as the architecture, right? The actual specifics of where we're going, the way better the project will actually become. And as you can see here, we've even got way more information here. So it's asking us different questions like detail. And I think it's really cool that in the UI, we can actually come down and select all the different things that we want. We want it to on page only, and you can get the API choice. So you may say, hey, I want to do that API keys, and the tech stack, you can pretty much be specific on the things that you would like there. So now we've got our pre-flight checklist. We know exactly what we're doing, and we've got a beautiful plan. The next thing we need to do is actually go to our destination. But we're not going to do that alone. We're actually going to do that instead of 1 jet pilot, we're going to do it with 10, which is why the third step in our 5-step framework here stands for deploy in parallel. Now the idea of this is that we're not just going to release 1 agent on the task. We're going to release 5, 6, 7. Now Boris says he actually has 5 agents running simultaneously within his actual desktop, as well as using one other very interesting thing. Now there's actually 2 ways we can do this. One that he uses, and the other one with an anti-gravity. Now anti-gravity, for example here, as you can see, is a beautiful interface. We have agent manage, we have lots of things, we can use Gemini. What you can do with anti-gravity is you see this Claude Code logo. I can literally click it like this. Right now, I can have 3, 4, 5 different instances of Claude Code, and these individual core agents all doing something for us simultaneously. But one of the only drawbacks of using anti-gravity is that your laptop can sometimes heat up and melt if you're not running on like the latest, biggest thing ever. So what Boris does, I want to show this as an alternative if you want to, is actually running these Claude things in the terminal. And the way you can open the terminal is command space, and you can literally type in T for terminal, and then the whole thing will pop up. Now this looks a little bit codey, but you can actually type in Claude here. Now, one of the advantages of doing it in the terminal is that when you run it through anti-gravity or cursor, it adds a lot of other things to it. It's got the coding layer, it's got all these different things. It is faster and more direct if you use the terminal, which basically means there's less operational like drag on your laptop. And all you do with this is you type in Claude, obviously once you've installed it and all that sort of stuff. But what he will do here is, I think if you do Command Shift I, you can actually rename the tabs. So I could call this one, for example, Terminal 1, which is cool. And you can create multiple these by doing Command T, Command T, Command T, Command T. So now we have 5 different things. And again, we can name them. If I do Command Shift I, you can see we call this one 2. And then we come down to this one like so, and we call this one 3, and so on and so on and so forth. And we can literally, if I come down here, actually rename this one. You name them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And now we can have multiple versions of this running for simultaneously in the background. And we just come down here and we call this one Claude. And again, now we'll have multiple versions of Claude running on there. But the question is, how do I get this to work in my project? Well, all you do is you type in cd in a space, and then all you do is drag over the folder that you want to. So I grab one from my desktop, I can drop it in there. That's the Teddy website. I hit enter, and then that will work for us instantaneously. And now this is working within, if you think of it like that project space for us. And so by using his multiple agents, you can code way faster and build things and actually set them all on individual different tasks. But on top of that, one of the things that he revealed that he does, I thought was really interesting, that I'm now going to start doing myself, is actually using the Claude Code web. So if you head over to Claude AI, what you can do is on the left-hand side, click on Code. I'll open up a brand new tab, and these are online web agents. So one of the cool things that CLA Code has done is it kind of lets you just like code on your desktop and also your web. Now the thing is with Claude Code, right? It's working so long as our laptop is open. But what if you and I are heading to the gym to a big, beautiful workout, or we're buying a Teddy jumper, or whatever the thing is, and we don't really have a laptop open? Well, this is a perfect use case of when you would use Claude AI Code online. And what we can do is connect it to a Reaper. So for example, I've got my website here, which is Scale with Teddy, right? If I open this up and show you this is my agency, how we work with businesses, that kind of thing, right? But let's say that I'm at the gym and I have an idea like, dude, wouldn't it be cool if I changed one thing on this website? Or I say, I want to add in a new contact form, or I want to update my followers on YouTube, or something like that. How would that work? Well, let's just see as an example, right? If I come over to this now, I can say, hey there, dude, could you update the number of followers I have displaying on YouTube to 92,000? Cool. And what this will prompt you to do, by the way, is connect it to your GitHub repo. I gave it access to all of it. So once it connects to GitHub repo, it can just do it. Now this is just a very simple idea, but I can actually set it up to different projects like I want you to integrate a new XYZ, or I really want you to think on something. So one of the things that Boris does is he'll spin up multiple of these, 4 or 5 of them, whilst he's going to sleep, and set them in these recursive loops. So they're working and working for hours at a time in the background. So when he wakes up, he's got all this code that he can check and deploy. We click on select repo. So this one's going to be the Teddy AI website. So if I set this one here, which is for the website, and then literally now going to prompt, I can do this off. I'm just going to show you how cool this is to work. But basically, we set it off and it'll literally go ahead now and do that for us. We can enable notifications, so lets us know, which is freaking cool. And this will now work for us in the background whenever we are doing anything. But again, we can make it way more complicated. This is just enables you to take your ideas to coding and let it run for you either when you're sleeping or you're on the move, and you don't have time to whip up anti-gravity or your terminal and code for you automatically. Meaning you can actually code and develop way more apps way quickly, and it can always be working for you as a coding agent 24/7. Now, as you can see guys, it's already done it. It's taken K and updated it to K, and it did that in just a couple of seconds. So now we have a beautiful team of multiple agents working just simultaneously, and they're doing it whilst we are asleep or on the move wherever we are. So our workflow productivity is really high. But next thing we need to do is scale with automation, which brings on to the 4th step of our 5-step framework, and that is extend with automation. And from Boris's point of view, the creative CLA code, I thought this was really interesting. So one of the ways that we do this that's unique within Claude Code is we create these agents. And again, it works exactly the same way within anti-gravity. But I'll show what it looks like within Claude. You basically can forge / and go for agents. Now the idea of an agent, it's kind of every Claude Code conversation has a context window of a few 100,000 tokens, right? So the idea of this is, let's say that we are creating a YouTube video. right? And we want to talk about titles, we want to talk about introductions, we want to talk about scripting. What we would do is spin up a separate agent for each of those things. So what you can do here is actually ask Claude to create an agent. You can / agents like this. And then when you open it up, you can see you can create personal or project agents. And the idea then is that you want to create multiple agents for various different things. Describe what the agent does and it will help you with that. And then when you're talking to Claude Code, you can actually summon that agent for various different things. And now we've scaled with automation. That very nicely takes us on to the fifth and final step of our coder framework, which stands for review and verify. Now, just like in our fighter jet pilot, every trip, every mission needs a review to make sure that it went successfully. And Claude Code is no different. And this would be something that you would add with your claude.md file. But effectively what we need to do is give to Claude very clear success criteria of whether or not it's done its job. So for example, if I paste just a couple of things in here, success criteria would be the code runs without errors. All the tests have passed. So for example, in our web app, we may say, hey, when you hover over the card, it rotates, or it gives you all the information with loads without errors. Things like no linting warnings, feature works is requested. I can understand what's changed that explanation. You can also give it the task as a very highly skeptical senior developer. But the key is that we give Claude almost like a checklist of, hey, this is what success looks like. This means it's passed, and this means that it hasn't. So Claude could understand whether or not it's actually done its job properly. One little side hack I want to give you as well when you're coding in with these models is that sometimes less prompting is better than more. And this came out from some of the conferences I watched with Anthropic, which I thought was a really interesting takeaway. And the idea is that it's really good at kind of like getting it sometimes. So occasionally just give it like a little bit of a shorter prompt with things to see if it can actually hit your goals better than you by over-explaining it. So to reiterate, we have this codes framework. Configure your foundations, outline before you build, deploy in parallel, extend with automation, and then review and verify. And now you know how to build within Claude Code just like the creator of the application. And the next thing is to learn how to take all these key things into systems that can actually grow and scale your business, which you can learn by watching this video right here.